students. Hope you are great. Today we are going to continue Chapter 1, Introduction to Science. Let's start with Section 2, Science and Technology. Science means observing, studying, experimenting to find the nature of things. Science mainly use technology. So technology means using science to make human life easier. So science use technology to make human life easier, applying knowledge, laws and theories to make useful products. For example, like what? Like computers, it's technology, cell phones, cars, machines, answering machines, all of this is technology. So technology using science, and the technology, computers, cell phones, cars, using science to make human life easier. Scientific theories and laws and are supported by observation. So what's meant by scientific theory? Scientific theory mean I think that. When you think that, this means scientific theory. And possible explanation of natural event. When you explain natural event, or I think about natural event, or you explain a natural event, all of this called scientific theory. For example, kinetic theory. You use a kinetic theory of energy to what? To explain why it's so glad, like this, gets hot when used. So you use scientific theory to explain why it's so glad, like this one, gets hot when used. So this is a scientific theory. I think that. Theory must pass the following tests. Any theory must pass through these tests. Explain observations simply and clearly. Will be repeatable. You must be able to predict from a theory. First, you use a theory to explain observation, and also be repeatable. When you use a theory, be able to predict from a theory, you must be able to predict from a theory. Scientific law. Scientific law means I know that. While scientific theory, I think that. I know that. Repeated observation about nature, but does not explain why or how something happens. So, scientific law, repeated observation about nature, but not explain why or how something happens. For example, you observe that the sun comes out from the east and the sun set from the west. You observe that. So this scientific law, I know that. You observe that about nature, like the sun. You observe that the sun comes out from the east and gets or sets from the west, and also night comes after day. This is a scientific law. Repeated observation. You observe it every day. So this is a repeated observation. Scientific law. Theories and laws are not absolute. They can change as new discoveries are made. This series is not absolute, right? They can be changed as new discoveries are made. When you discover another thing, so this theory can or laws can change. For example, from thousands of years, people thought that the world was flat, but now it's not right. But now the world is oval like this. So this theory was changed. Qualitative versus quantitative. Qualitative statement describe an event with words. For example, chalkboard is black. Chalkboard is a black. There are a poster on the wall. So there is describe an event. This is called a qualitative statement. While quantitative statement measure quantity, describe with numbers, quantity numbers, or mathematical equations. Like what? There are 10 posters on the wall, so 10 is a number, so this quantitative statement. The room has an area of 400 feet. This is a quantitative, measure mass, number. What are scientific methods? Scientific methods are a process used to solve a problem. You use a scientific method to solve any problem. Scientific methods consist of 4 steps. First steps, form a hypothesis, an educated guess, or a possible answer to your question or problem. You have a problem and you want to solve this problem. You use a hypothesis, educated guess. I guess that. When you guess something, I guess. This is called this is used from a hypothesis. You first form a hypothesis, an educated guess, or possible answer to your question. Then make an experiment to test this hypothesis. You make an experiment. Second, you make an experiment to test your hypothesis, and then collect data. You collect data, make observation from your experiment. You make an experiment and then collect numbers or data from this experiment. Then last step, draw a conclusion or form a conclusion. This conclusion, if this conclusion is with a hypothesis or disagree with this hypothesis. Did your hypothesis turn out to be true? If this hypothesis is true or not. So first, we make an hypothesis. Second, make an experiment to test this hypothesis and collect data from experiments, and then last step, make a conclusion to assure that the hypothesis is right or wrong. Experimental parts. Any experiment consists of control or variable. Control, it's a part of experiments that stay unchanged. When you make an experiment, we must have control and variable. Control, that part in an experiment that stay unchanged, while variable, part of experiments that varies. We have 2 types of variable. Variable independent variable with dependent and dependent variable. Independent variable, variable that change to see what happened either by you or out of its own self. Variable that change to see. So this is called independent variable. Variable that changes. While dependent variable depends on independent variable. So dependent variable depends on independent variable. Also called results. May change because of independent variable. So independent variable variable that change to see what happened either by you or out of its own self. While dependent variable, it's depend on independent variable. Another name called results. For example, the size of tomatoes depends on the amount of sun they receive. When the amount of sun increase, the size of tomato increase. So independent variable, amount of sun. Variable change. But dependent variable, size of tomatoes. You see or observe dependent variable, size of tomato increase when the amount of sun increase. So dependent variable depend on independent variable. Size of tomato depends on amount of sun. Collecting data, you collected data after making experiments. You collected data, you observe what happened and collected data. Last step, conclusion. By judging the data, after you collected data, you make a conclusion whether your hypothesis was right or wrong. Either the hypothesis is right or wrong. That's it. Thanks for watching.